Hi, Ali. Thank you very much for joining me today. I'm very glad that you came here. Could you tell us something about you? Where did you grow up and what was your childhood like?
So I was born in the US. I was born in a town called Richmond, Virginia, which is on the east coast of the US. And I would say I had pretty close to as perfect and ideal a childhood as one could get. I had two really loving parents and a younger brother and a house with the yard where we got to play and enough resources to not worry about having food or stability. And yeah, we got to go on some family vacations in the summer, got to go to summer camp. I had extended family in my life to come to birthday parties and all of that. So I was a very supported child and an introverted child. And I realized early on that I enjoyed solitary activities and little projects to do with my hands to keep me occupied. Art and writing were big interests of mine, and that has continued even to this day.
Hmm. We are sitting in beautiful sunny Nelson in New Zealand. Could you tell me what brought you here to New Zealand and especially here to sunny Nelson?
Yeah, it's interesting that I would find myself here after growing up in the US, since we're so far away. But my main draws to New Zealand were the working holiday visa and the Te Aurora Trail, which is the long distance trail that extends the whole length of the country. Starts at the very north in Cape Rena and ends at Bluff. And I'd done some long distance hiking before, and I wanted to expand my traveling. So after going through periods of traveling in South America, I decided to go to a whole other part of the world and ended up in New Zealand. And while hiking the trail, I passed through Nelson and decided that I wanted to come back.
How is New Zealand as a hiking destination if you compare with the countries you were before?
The trails in New Zealand are incredible. The Southern Alps are really, world class, amazing places to visit and hike. And the trail quality itself is awful. It is mud, roots, rocks, scrambling. A lot of the time it'll just direct you through a river and you just walk through the river. Lots of bogs. Yeah, lots of you step on the surface of the ground and it just collapses and you're in a puddle all of a sudden.
Do you have some favorite part in New Zealand for hiking?
My favorite moment of the trail that I hiked, which I've only done the South Island portion, which has the most beautiful scenery, was a section called Waio Pass. It's pretty close to here in Nelson. It's in the Richmond range. And yeah, that day you start out at Blue Lake, which is the clearest lake, more like a pond. It's pretty small, I think, in the world. Stunning and incredible. And then you just wind your way up by another lake, Lake Constance, and then, down on this dry bed and then up again to this stunning pass, and you're scrambling over rocks. And it's the type of thing where you might have to use all four limbs to climb up and over and scramble down. Yeah, I think is my favorite place I've hiked.
Can you say what draws you to hiking? What does give it to you?
I can talk for a long time about this. I first became interested in hiking. I grew up as a Girl Scout going camping sometimes, but that was all about being in a group. And I think I first fell in love with hiking when I was able to do it on my own. Like I said before, I really enjoy solitary activities. And I think hiking is an awesome combination of time for reflection, exercise. It really has me thinking my most fun and creative thoughts. It's also a place to go on a journey, and that's exciting to me, to see a new place that I could never access without walking there, especially the tops of mountains or like alpine environments where there no plants grow there because it's too high. And when you're there, you just feel like you're the only person to have been there for days and days. And that feeling is really special and sacred to me.
Do you have some really special hiking place what left mark on your soul?
There's a few that come to mind. My first long distance hiking experience was on the Camino de Santiago. And that is a pilgrimage route in northern Spain. That is about 800 kilometers long. And it's not through the wilderness, but it is the ritual of waking up, walking all day, going to sleep, and repeat for months on end. And that awakened my love for just relishing in the simple joys in life. And that then extended to the first wilderness hike I did, which was the John Muir Trail in California. That was 3 weeks of being in the backcountry, setting up a tent, cooking on a camp stove, learning all those skills. So that's a special place to me. And then I moved on to a full-length through hike of the Appalachian Trail on the east coast of the US. So that was 2,200 miles, like 4,000 kilometers, something like that. And that took 6 months to do. It had the ritual of getting up, walking all day, going to sleep. It had the wilderness aspect of setting up a tent, and it also had a community. So there's people who have chosen to do this long walk, and you meet each other along the way. So that's a really special place to me as well. And now New Zealand is a special hiking place to me because it represents stepping even further outside of my travel comfort zone and coming to a new part of the world.
That one of your passion is learning languages, and especially Spanish, that you speak fluently in Spanish. Could you tell me what first inspired you to love with languages?
I took Spanish in school, first at the age of 13, which is way too late in my personal opinion. It's way easier to learn a language as a child. But I didn't have to until I turned 13. And when I did at first, it was very frightening. As a child who always wanted to do things right and was very composed and reserved, it was scary to make a fool of myself trying to speak in a language that I didn't know very well. And there was a moment where something changed for me, and this moment has become kind of mythologized in my mind, where I was listening to some old music after taking Spanish for maybe 1 year or 2 years. I was listening to some old CDs, and I came across a CD that I'd listened to as a child with some songs on it of various Romance languages. And one of my favorite songs on that CD was in Spanish. I did not know that at the time of listening to it and enjoying it. And I played it, and I was hearing all of the same sounds that I knew. And all of a sudden, I could connect it in my brain to a meaning. And it was so magical for me. That moment of unlocking the meaning of these sounds that I knew and loved. And I think I connected in that moment. This is a tool. This is a skill that I can use and enjoy and relish in. And there's a whole world of meaning that I can unlock by learning this skill. And after that, I was off to the races. I was listening to every single Spanish song I could. After I ran out of ones that I knew before, I was learning new ones. I was memorizing the lyrics. I got a copy of the Chronicles of Narnia in Spanish. It was a book that I'd read before. It was at a pretty basic reading level. So I went through and highlighted all the words I didn't know, would write them in my little vocabulary journal. And then in the mornings, I would turn on the Spanish language news station at my house, understand very little, but still watch anyway. And I think another turning point was starting to have conversations with people in public. And the light that appears in someone's eyes when you can communicate with them in their native language is so special to me. And getting to see someone's true full personality, that to me is just, it's irreplaceable. So yeah, and then I realized that, oh, all of these things that I'm loving and enjoying can also allow me to travel and see new parts of the world and unlock those experiences. So that was the last stage of learning Spanish for me, and the one that I'd say I'm currently in.
So this was also one of the reasons why you end up living in Peru.
Mm-hmm.
And can you tell us something more about that and what that year gave you?
I had lived briefly in Spain doing some study abroad programs. I'd also taken a leave of absence from my university for a semester to go back to Madrid, just because I loved the summer I spent there so much. And after that, I thought, well, I've dipped my toe into some Spain Spanish. Now I want to do Latin American Spanish. I actually met someone at the bank who was opening a credit card for me, who had family in Lima, Peru. And she was asking me about my life. I said, I want to go abroad. This was around COVID still, so I couldn't go yet. And she said, well, where are you thinking of going? And I said, I don't really know, actually. Anywhere in South America will be fine for me. And she said, well, I have family in Lima. I can give you their contact. So that's when I decided, all right, I'll go to Lima. And I did end up having dinner with her family one evening. That was fun. And I wasn't in close contact with them after that, but then I did go on to meet people who I became close with. And I ended up spending 2 years on and off in Lima.
Wow. Was there something what surprised you about Peru and Latin America in general?
It is totally... There are things that are the same across lots of different cultures that I've visited, and things that are different. That statement is a little bit general. And that statement kind of means nothing. Something that surprised me about Peru was my first time going to what you call a third world country. I had been to the US, I'd been to different places in Europe by that time. And Peru was my first venture into the chaos of a less developed, more impoverished nation. And there's still, lots of areas of Peru where they have the expensive high-rise apartment buildings in the center of Lima. And then there's also the outskirts where there's no plumbing, no electricity, just people building shacks on the desert hills. And getting to experience the chaos of that environment was new for me. And also exciting, kind of dangerous, kind of interesting to see the advantages and the disadvantages of those systems. There is the transportation system in Lima is very privatized in the sense that there's combi vans that drive around where it's just a guy who owns a van and he drives a certain route every day and picks people up and they pay a certain amount to go with him. And that allows for a lot of freedom and mobility. And also chaos.
Can you say that the learning languages, or especially Spanish, somehow change the way how you see the world or yourself?
Definitely. Learning Spanish gave me a lot of confidence in myself. It gave me a passion to identify with. It gave me something to pursue, a goal to achieve, and also the skills necessary to travel, which has built my self-identity over time. It's also helped me conceive of myself as a person who has interests and goals and can achieve those. And I think most importantly of all, once I gained the passion for it and the interest in improving my Spanish, I realized that the fear that I'd felt earlier of messing up and saying something wrong, if I just embrace that and enjoy falling flat on my face and laugh at it and try to do it as much as possible, I can improve dramatically. And I can also let go of that fear that is holding me. And practicing that, Spanish gives me the opportunity to practice that skill, which then I can carry over into other parts of my life. I find it's easier to do that when you're really passionate about the subject, because otherwise when you fail and fall flat on your face, you're sort of damaging your sense of self as a person who is good at things. But if your main motivation is to improve at what you're doing, failing is exciting because it's your next step towards improvement. I think that is maybe the most important thing that Spanish has given me.
Was there a moment in Peru or in South America where you felt really part of the culture, like you belonged? And do you think it's possible?
There's one moment that I'm thinking of that I celebrated for weeks. I had met someone in Lima. We had been dating for a long time, and we were always working together on my Peruvian Spanish, learning different, slang words. And when I first came to Peru, people asked, "Are you from Spain?" Because I'd lived in Spain before. And eventually, after, this was towards the end of my 2 years there, I met someone new at a social event, and instead of asking me which country I was from, she asked me where I came from in Lima. She asked which barrio do you come from, like which neighborhood, which district. And that was a major thrill for me. That moment meant more to me than she could ever know. And there's always a part of me that held back when I was living there. I think I always felt like I wasn't going to be there forever. And I do have some regrets about that. I feel like I didn't fully throw myself into the culture. But I did get a lot out of it, and it definitely has profoundly shaped who I am today.
So we could continue with some general reflections.
Mm-hmm.
When did you realize you didn't need to live life the way others expected you to?
I'm recalling a particular moment. I didn't fight much with my parents, but there was a certain time when I said something as a teenager. I said something to my mom like, "I don't want to live the life that you all have here in the suburbs with the PTA and the lawn that has to be mowed." And I've kind of always felt that way, that I wanted to be more adventurous and live more rough and tumble, at least for my youth and the time that I am free and able to travel. And I've sort of always felt that way, or at least since Spanish. I think maybe learning Spanish is what sparked that concrete idea of, oh, I can go teach English in Latin America, or I can go to another country specifically to improve my Spanish. And from there, I gained more of a passion for all of the other aspects of travel as well.
What does freedom mean to you right now?
Lately, freedom has been more of a prison to me than the original meaning of the word freedom. I think because I've designed my life for so long to allow me to be spontaneous and travel anywhere, I've been missing the rewards that routine and stability can give. It's always a balancing act in life. Do I want to prioritize my breadth of wild, amazing experiences, or do I want to concentrate my efforts in one place so I can get a more depth out of my life? And for the past 5 years, or maybe you could even call it 6 or 7, I have been choosing to prioritize freedom and travel. And I've been, definitely in the past year, I felt myself burning out on it and reaching my personal level of, I don't want to choose freedom anymore. I want to choose security. Specifically my health. I would feel my health faltering when I would be go, 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 travel, travel all the time. And making the slow choices towards stability, for example, signing a 6-month lease, which I've just done here in Nelson. It feels kind of scary, but at the same time, I know that's what I want, because when I think of continuing to travel in the same way that I was, I feel a sense of dread. I sort of burned down on it, and yeah, now freedom to me means the freedom to grow a vegetable garden and be able to attend the same plants for months at a time. And freedom means being able to make my own sourdough starter and learn the kitchen that I'm in and finesse this technique of bread making. And freedom also means the freedom to build relationships over the course months rather than days and hours.
You were talking that the traveling could have a bad impact on your health. In which way do you think could have a bad impact on your health?
I noticed myself feeling pretty anxious about getting sick after having stomach bugs, foodborne illnesses and fevers in various parts of the world, especially in the backcountry. Like, being sick in a tent in the woods is the worst experience ever. And knowing that that can happen while I'm in a country where I don't know a single person, I'm alone, I'm in a hostel, I'm in the woods, whatever it is, that, when I first started traveling, that reality, I knew about it, but I didn't fully feel the impacts of it. And now that it's happened to me many times, I realize when travel goes wrong, it can go really, really wrong. I've been lucky that it has not gone catastrophically wrong for me. The worst that's happened to me is, I've been sick for several days. I've puked. I've never been to the hospital. I've never broken a bone. I've never been drugged. But now I feel like I have a better knowledge of what can go wrong out there in the world, especially as a woman. It's very dangerous. Like, the situation I put myself in. I am so lucky to have never been victimized in a very dramatic way. So yeah, it's serious business going out there in the world. It's fun. It's amazing. It's brilliant. It is, such a core of my life. And also it is, you do have to sacrifice a lot.
So I guess if you travel, it's very hard to keep your healthy habits. For example, to have a regular sleep and diet. How hard was for you, on how bad impact do you think this has on our body?
Yeah, it's sleeping for sure. Sleeping different amounts in different locations. Having such a changing diet. That could be, a foodborne illness, or it could be just foods that your body isn't expecting. And all of these lifestyle factors affect your sleep. If you're on a bus all night and you get terrible sleep, I'm getting older. That didn't used to affect me as much as it does now. I'm feeling those effects of aging. And yeah, throwing my body into unknown situations where I'm on high alert at all times, watching around me, making sure I'm aware of what's going on. That in itself takes a toll. You don't notice it in the moment, but when you're living in that state over months and years, it starts to take a toll. I think that's what I was noticing as well.
Thank you. If you could speak to your younger self, what would you say?
I love hearing other people answer this question, and I don't feel like I have a satisfying answer for myself. When I think, what would I tell my younger self? The first thing that comes to mind is, what do I need to tell myself right now? Because the first thing that jumped to mind is kind of like trust the process. And there are many different ways to have a happy, healthy, fulfilling life of your dreams. And you don't have to pick the perfect one. That's just something that I'm trying to tell myself right now. And it is something that my younger self could have used. This is something that I struggle with all the time throughout my life. So yeah, maybe I'll tell my younger self that. And it's also in an attempt to tell myself now.
What helps you stay grounded when life feels uncertain, or if you are going through some difficult situation?
Knowing that I have a safety net of a family, friends, and support where I came from is very important for me in feeling secure in this world. I think I can only do the traveling that I've done because I know that I have somewhere to go back to if things go wrong. And I'm grateful for that all the time. People who travel without that foundation of security, I'm just amazed by those people. Also, I think beautiful things come out of uncertain periods of life if you let them. Thinking about times of massive uncertainty in my past, one of those would be my graduation from my undergrad degree in May of 2020, so peak uncertainty with COVID. And I look at the way that my life has continued after that, and I think this has still been something that I'm proud of and something I've really enjoyed. And I was able to slowly make decision after decision that led me to pursuing my dreams.
How do you know if something is right for you? How do you making decisions? Do you rely more on your intuition or your brain or heart?
I think for me, it's a lot of my intuition. I think it's a lot of, if there is an objective best decision, I can think through that logically. But most of the time in life, it's, for example, do I want to stay in New Zealand or do I want to move to Colorado? Whatever it is. And I'm weighing the costs and benefits. Okay, I'll have to go through a visa process, or I don't know where I want to go in Colorado. Do I want to keep pursuing an outdoor education career? Do I want to stay in New Zealand where I like it and put a career on hold for at least several more months? There's no objective better decision, so I really have to listen to my feelings and my intuition, and a lot of the time it's unclear and uncertain. And I think that's a normal part of life from what I've experienced and from what others say.
Do you have also something what helping you in hard times? Some technique, for example, like a breathing technique, meditation or reading? Do you have something what makes you calmer?
Journaling really helps me. Journaling really helps me sort out my feelings. I think some combination of talking to friends and family and journaling. Because sometimes I am feeling things, but I'm not exactly sure what I'm feeling. So sitting and thinking about it isn't helpful because my thoughts are racing too much. So if I'm there with my journal and I'm writing, I'm able to slow the thoughts down, and I'm also able to look them back over and revise them later. And sometimes when I read what I've written, I understand something completely different than what I thought I was writing before. So it's a way to gain perspective on my thoughts. And it's a way for me to sort through exactly what I'm feeling and put words to it and name things so that then I'm able to go into a conversation with a friend and articulate myself, get some feedback and another outside perspective from that person, and verbally talking through my thoughts helps me process it in a different way to writing. I think it's important to have both of those. And if I want to do just some thinking, hiking really helps for that. Because my body's occupied and it allows my brain to work at a level that is a bit slower and more coherent.
Mm. Mm.
All of those things.
Thank you. Do you have a favorite quote, verse, or phrase that speak to your heart?
One that's coming to mind is a phrase in through hiking culture called hike your own hike, sometimes abbreviated to HYOH. And what it means is follow your heart, be yourself, do what you want to do. In the context of through hiking, it might be, my friends are camping here, but I have a lot of energy and I want to push myself and hike further and hike all through the night if you want to. And that's an important goal for you. Or you might listen to your body. Your friends are hiking further, but you're saying, I'm feeling tired. I want to stop now. In hiking culture, hike your own hike is kind of the one of the golden rules. And we're all really respectful of listening to ourselves and our own bodies and what we need and what we want. And I find myself applying that phrase to the rest of my life as well. It's very important to me to hike my own hike. And the people who are meant to be with me, I'll naturally find them when I'm hiking my own hike, because they'll be hiking their own hike and we'll naturally coincide.
Why do you think for some people it's hard to be themselves?
This question is really interesting to me. Why do I think it's hard for some people to be themselves? I have to imagine it has something to do with not being supported while in the phase of life where you're discovering who you are. If you don't have the freedom or the resources as a younger person to experiment and pursue your interests, or if you're in an environment where that is unsafe, or where if you expose your true and vulnerable self, you'll be hurt for that. I imagine it's really, really hard to unlearn that. And I was lucky to grow up in a supportive environment where I was free to pursue any of my interests, and I formed my identity as a young child. And I feel like I have been the same person that I was as a child throughout my whole life. Like at the core of me feels the same. And I don't understand the experience of not knowing who you are at the core on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
But I do know the way that I continue to discover myself. And that is through pursuing my interests. And it's also through those things I mentioned earlier, journaling, talking with friends. It's through putting myself in different environments and getting in touch with my feelings. For example, I worked at a boarding school in Colorado. And when I was there, I was thinking, yeah, I feel really aligned with XYZ aspects of this place. But also XYZ aspects of this place that don't really feel right to me. Like, I really enjoy the fact that everyone's wearing Bluntstones boots. And that on weekends for fun, we go on hikes to see the fall leaves. And I don't like the fact that I am at a staff meeting with my boss on Friday afternoon, and then Friday night, I see them again at the bar. And I think being able to discern which of those do I like and align with, which of those do I not align with, that is kind of a skill.
Mm.
You do have to be in touch with your feelings in order to do that. I think if being in touch with your feelings is a really dangerous thing for you based on your past experiences, that can be challenging. So I really don't know what advice I would give. All I can say is what I do to get in touch with my feelings. And maybe that could work for someone else, or maybe it wouldn't.
Thank you. Thank you very much for your answer. This or that quickfire round.
Okay.
Coffee or tea?
Neither.
Saying everything or letting silence speak?
Silence.
Solo road trip or traveling with friends?
They both have their advantages, but there's something special about solo.
Comfort or growth?
Growth.
Heart or mind?
Heart.
Knowing where are you going or not knowing or enjoying not knowing?
Enjoying not knowing.
English or Spanish?
English will always be my native language. English.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thank you very much, Ali, for your time. I appreciate it that you've been in my Nomadic Soulcast, and I wish you the best on your next journey.
Thank you for inviting me. It's been an honor and a joy.
Thank you.